Welcome to the Dibley Diaries for this week. This week in the Dibley Diaries we're thinking about Mothering Sunday and about the readings that we have set for Mothering Sunday and the information about families and the kind of thinking about families that we have in that. And for the rural challenge this week, I've been thinking about families in rural situations and about the risk that we can make an assumption about a family in a rural situation that it's all going to be nice and lovely and people are going to get on with each other, but actually certainly this can sometimes not be the case. In one of the villages once where I worked, there was a situation where a mother and a daughter were only corresponding via solicitor's letter. That was the only communication that they had with each other. They lived about a mile apart. It made it quite difficult in the village, made it quite difficult for them and for other people who knew both of them, and about how they would deal with this kind of difficulty that was happening. And I also in another place there was somebody who I kind of expected to be getting on better and to be working more closely with the church community because of their role in the community, and I found out that their mum was a vicar, and I thought, oh, this is great, that they'll be able to work more professionally within and in collaboration with the church community. Then I found out that even though their mum was a vicar, that actually their relationship with their mum had been really strained and difficult, both as a child and as an adult, and so that didn't help us. I'd made an assumption that would make it easier for us to work together, when in actuality people are people, and it made it more difficult for us to work together. So just this note of caution: don't assume in your rural community that because it's rural and people get on and people know each other, that actually someone's relationship with their family is necessarily going to be a good one. Thought for the week this week is based on the Bible readings that we have set for us for this Sunday, which are not all "Aren't Mums Wonderful?" Shouldn't we say thank you to our mums readings? They are instead readings about people who are brave enough to love in difficult circumstances. And we start with the Moses reading, and the Moses reading is something which a lot of us were familiar with, but I think we need to think deeper about it. So Moses is in the basket, he's in the River Nile, he's being hidden from Pharaoh's orders to destroy all the baby boys that belong to the Israelites, and then we have Miriam, who's his sister, his mum, who's been brave enough to put him in the river. We have Pharaoh's daughter, the princess, who's come to the river to bathe, and we have her servants, her household. So so the princess finds Moses. Miriam is brave enough to speak to the princess, goes and gets Moses' biological mum, and says actually she could look after him, she could nurse him. So Moses begins his life being looked after by his biological mum, his sister, and his biological family. He then moves on to effectively his second mum, to the princess, where she cares for him in her household. And this week I've been really thinking about what that household might have looked like for Moses, the people that he grew up with in his family as he was older. And I've been thinking, but I don't know, I've had a look into it, I haven't found anything conclusive. I've been thinking that some of those people in the princess's household, maybe people who had a surgical intervention as a child and who we might now describe as non-gender conforming people. So Moses grew up in this huge blended family of people who were brave enough to care for him. Remember that even though Pharaoh's daughter was a princess, she was still going against her father's wishes to care for Moses. So Moses grew up in this really complicated family where everyone was being brave to love him, everyone was doing their best in a difficult situation. And we have this same thing which kind of comes round again in John chapter 19, where Jesus is on the cross, and Jesus is there, he's dying, and he's surrounded by people who are brave enough to love him, brave enough to be there with him. So there's John, his disciple, who's there. Then there's a collection of Marys. Mary's Mary, his mother, Mary Magdalene, Mary, wife of Clopas, and his mum, his biological mum's Mary's sister, who presumably was not called Mary, but isn't named in this passage. So we have him there with these people who love him, who care for him. Certainly in John it appears that John and Jesus are really good friends, kind of best friends sort of thing. And then Jesus speaks from the cross, and he says to Mary, "Here is your son," and he says to John, "Here is your mother." And then it says that Mary went to live with John. So one of the last things that Jesus is doing in his human life is building a family, putting people together to bravely love each other and care for each other in difficult situations. Then we have the passage from Colossians, and it's a message to the church. And sometimes in the Anglican tradition we call the church the mother church. This is coming to a church as a church family, and it says that we should clothe ourselves with love, because that binds everything together. That we should clothe ourselves with love, because that is what binds us all together. And I wonder what that might look like in your church communities, and how you are brave to do that. What does that look like for you? So this Mothering Sunday, we do give thanks for good mothers, for the care, the attention that they've given us, the bravery that they show in caring for us, not least as they are the first people to risk their lives to care for us and to look after us and to kind of grow us biologically. But we also give thanks for all those people who are brave enough to love us in different situations and in difficult situations. Those people who are brave enough to care for us as children and as adults. Because Jesus on the cross is like, you do still need people to love you, people to care for you, people to look after you as adults, as he places Mary and John together into a new family. And we need to be challenged. How do we love each other in our church communities? How do we clothe ourselves with love? How do we allow ourselves to be bound together, to be brave, to love and support each other through times of joy and times of great difficulty as well? The Dibley moment of the week is something which happened to me a few years ago now. I was looking after the child of a friend, and I'd seen a bit of them. They knew who I was, they were very happy. This child would have been 4, possibly just 5 at this time. I was looking after them for the day, and as part of that we were sitting down having a snack at some point, and I was trying to explain that I was much older than Mummy but quite a bit younger than Granny, so I wasn't really a Mummy or I wasn't really a Granny. And this little boy came back to me and said, "I know that, you're my Janet. You're my Janet." And I think that's really important for us. I found it very moving. But it's very important for us to have these kind of relationships with people who we're not biologically related to, but we are brave enough to love them in whatever situation we find ourselves. Well, that's it for the Dibley Diaries for this week. I pray that you and your village, however large or small, have a really blessed week where you can all be bound together in love.